Shavkat Rakhmonov is being overlooked against Belal Muhammad, and it's pretty funny because before this fight fell through, I feel like Belal Muhammad was actually being overlooked. He was like over a 2-1 underdog, which is crazy. It made absolutely no sense. But now I feel like Shavkat is being underrated by the fans and overlooked. And this is still a very close fight. I know people are saying he underperformed against Ian Garry because he didn't get the finish, because he struggled with the takedowns. But Ian Garry has good takedown defense, and Shavkat, he doesn't have the best takedown entries. And against, when he's in the clinch, it's going to be very hard to take down a guy like Ian Garry. So it wasn't the most exciting fight. I know people in the comments were saying, because I think I called the fight boring or something, and they were upset about it. But it was a relatively boring fight, at least for the first two rounds were awful, awful rounds. Then it heated up towards the end. There were some decent moments, but it's one of those fights where when you're watching it live, you're very nervous. So it's going to be a lot more exciting, kind of like Sean Strickland versus Adesanya, where if you watch that fight back, doesn't really have much replay value. You know what I mean? But regardless, the actual fight between these two, this is kind of a mini breakdown. I watched a few of their fights, what I saw, how I think their fight will go, an early prediction. And yeah, once the fight is actually signed, fight week, I'll make an entire breakdown on it. I'll watch every fight. But this is kind of a shorter breakdown. So getting straight into it, the first fight, I feel like that is going to be very close to this fight, and the most common, I guess, is Vicente Luque, because he fought that fight very similarly to how Shavkat will probably fight Belal Muhammad. A little bit different because Luque wasn't really going for the takedowns, where Shavkat is probably going to go for takedowns. Also, I think Shavkat is just better than Luque, has a better chin in my opinion. And yeah, maybe striking defense, but still, Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's going to press forward. Luque in that fight was on the front foot the entire fight. Amazing pressure by Luque. But Belal did a good job off of his back foot. He was landing good body kicks when his back was against the fence. His takedown entries, even while backing up, were still really solid. I feel like almost every single round, Belal was able to get at least one takedown. But the thing is, he would take him down. He would have about a minute control time, and then Luque would just get back up. You know what I mean? Belal has definitely improved since that fight. Luque landed some really good leg kicks, though. Luque even hurt Belal in the third round, winning him that round. It was a very good performance. Not a great performance by Luque, but it was like a 49-46, maybe a 48-47. It was a very competitive fight in the rematch. But yeah, again, he did a really good job pressing forward. I think he has some of the best takedown entries in the UFC. He's very good at mixing up his striking to his wrestling. Belal, he's fast, but he's very hittable. You could see it in this fight. It's weird because I feel like Belal Muhammad has gotten faster as his UFC career has progressed, which you really don't usually see that, but he is wicked fast. He was way faster than Leon in their fight. But yeah, there were some moments. I think Luque went for a few submissions, couldn't get them. Luque has good jiu-jitsu, so does Shavkat. And it's going to be risky. Belal, if he does end up shooting on Shavkat, very risky, because if you take Shavkat down, yes, Shavkat, he's not as good on, on his back compared to his top pressure as most people are. But he's still dangerous on the ground, and it's going to be very risky for Belal. Moving on, the next fight, Belal versus Wonderboy. There was a lot of time spent in the clinch in this fight, which if that happens, Shavkat is good in the clinch, but he's not dominant in the clinch. He is the bigger guy and the taller guy, so I believe he'll have more success probably with the knees, elbows, stuff like that against the shorter guy. I mean, Shavkat, he looks like he's probably 6'2". Muhammad, I don't know how tall he is, 5'11". He's going to have an advantage in the clinch. I don't think Shavkat is going to be able to take him down in the clinch, but regardless, against Wonderboy, he just dominated Wonderboy. He was beating him up on the ground, took him down, but there were moments in that fight where Wonderboy was trying. He didn't really get close, but he was kind of latching up submissions. Again, they weren't really locked in or close, but again, it shows that Belal Muhammad, when he shoots, he is you can threaten him with submissions to stop the wrestling. You just can. And against a guy like Shavkat, again, it's going to be very dangerous. The most important fight, Belal versus Leon, how this fight went. I feel like this fight I'm the most excited to break down because I really feel like there's a lot of misconceptions about this fight. I know people often say Leon, oh, he shit the bed, which he kind of did in moments. But again, Belal is just very good at, putting on the pressure, even though he doesn't put the pressure on every fight. It's just Leon fights off of the back foot the majority of his fights. And Belal knew that, tried to stop the kicks, pressed forward, and was able to mix up the wrestling with the striking. And it was a great performance. It wasn't dominant, though. A lot of people confuse this along with the Merab O'Malley fight where they say, oh, just because it was an upset win, it was quote-unquote domination. This was a 48-47 close decision win by Belal Muhammad. I feel like every round was very clear to score. It was a very competitive fight. And I'm not even joking when I say this. In the trilogy, I think Leon has a very good chance. Belal Muhammad, he's like 36. He's getting up there in age. But the actual fight, moving on, Belal Muhammad starts off, crazy pressure, pushes Leon back. And again, a lot of time in the clinch, which against Shavkat, that's not going to be great for him. Leon landed a good elbow off of the break. Again, for a guy like Shavkat Rakhmonov, that's going to be key. He'll probably land those as well. Similar height to Leon. Leon, in that first round, he landed a nice body kick, a good knee to the body, a good leg kick. He landed a nice uppercut. He was landing good single shots in that first round, and they were damaging shots. It was a very close round. Belal took him down early. Leon was able to get up because Leon has pretty good get-up ability. I know people hate him. He's still a good fighter. And yeah, it was a very competitive round up until the very end, the last 40 seconds or so, somewhere around there, where Belal just takes over. He lands an uppercut against Leon, where Leon was just shit striking defense by Leon. Leon's always been a horrible boxer, to be fair, and he is very chinny. But yeah, he kind of hurts Leon. Leon, I believe he gets a high guard, gets taken down, controlled for like the last 30 seconds. And it's a clear Belal round one, but a very close round one. Leon, it was very competitive. He landed some good shots. Round two was not as close as I remember. Belal, his jab is money. He is going to land that jab so many times against Shavkat, probably to stop the pressure. And maybe if he starts landing it in the early rounds, in rounds 3, 4, and 5, he can back up Shavkat, especially as Shavkat takes more damage, gets more tired. I could see that happening. I think early and late, more so early, I feel like it's going to be more effective for him, the jab. But yeah, round 2 was not that close. He did get taken down, and Leon eventually was able to take Belal's back, I believe in the final seconds, if I'm not mistaken, in round 2, which again, Leon is a good grappler, a very underrated grappler. But if you're getting your back taken by Leon, I just feel like it's so risky because Leon has good jiu-jitsu, but it's not elite. It's not on the same level as a Shavkat Rakhmonov, where it seemed like in this fight, almost every round was the same, where Leon would land, a few good shots, whatever. Belal would press forward, land the jab, land a few good shots, cut Leon off. Leon would have a high guard, he would shoot, he would take him down, he would control him for a few minutes, and then Belal would end up getting his back taken in the final 30 seconds. And that's very risky, and it shows that he gets put in a lot of dangerous positions. Even when he gets the takedown and it's fully complete, he has control, he's still in danger against Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm not saying Shavkat's going to submit him off of his back or anything. I'm just saying that when you go to the ground against Shavkat, it's very dangerous. But Belal, he lands sometimes a few nice ground and pound, shots, but he's not really dangerous anywhere. He's good everywhere, but he's not dangerous anywhere. Where I feel like it's very polar opposite for Shavkat Rakhmonov, where he is dangerous everywhere. He's going to have the power advantage. But yeah, Leon Edwards, first 2 rounds, he drops the first 2 rounds. Third round, he's able to get his own takedown. Leon has underrated entries, in my opinion, and he gets the back. He nearly chokes him out. He controls him for the entire round. Domination in the third round for Leon Edwards. Then it was domination for Belal Muhammad in the 4th round. Again, I believe he might have gotten his back taken again in that round, even though he clearly won. It's not good. And then the 5th round, he gets reversed at the very end, and he loses the round in the final 30 seconds. He gets cut wide open by brutal elbows by Leon Edwards. Shavkat also has pretty good elbows, pretty good ground and pound. He probably will cut Belal open in the fight with those if he's able to reverse the position. But yeah, that was what I noticed from that fight. Shavkat Rakhmonov, his most recent fight with Ian Garry, is very low output. His takedown entries, they sucked per usual. His takedown entries have never been good, except when he switched it up and he finally started, I believe it was I don't know if it was a double leg, a single leg, I forgot what he did, but he finally switched up his entries, shot in the open, and he was able to take down Ian Garry and control him. I said that he was going to do this, or should do this. I believe I said that in my breakdown, Shavkat versus Ian Garry, before the fight, which I predicted Shavkat by a decision, a close 48-47 decision. But yeah, I said, because against Wonderboy, he struggled taking him down until I believe he went for a single leg. Then he was able to take him down. Belal has been taken down. Again, he was taken down by Leon Edwards. I don't think Shavkat is a great wrestler, but he does have good wrestling. So I believe he has the ability to take down Belal Muhammad, especially in the earlier rounds, in my opinion. Shavkat, strong in the clinch. Again, we know that. Sneaky, underrated on the feet. Ian Garry was landing good leg kicks, landing the jab, but Shavkat, it seemed like, was landing the bigger shots. Again, he didn't throw that much. Shavkat's cardio looked pretty good. I get he lost the 5th, but his cardio held up. Again, it was very low pace, though. Where against Belal, if it goes 5 rounds, it's going to be a much higher pace than against a guy like Ian Garry. But yeah, how I see this fight going, in my opinion, Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Belal Muhammad, my early prediction, I think that Shavkat is going to pressure forward first. I think he's going to be going first. Now, against Ian Garry, he didn't have as much pressure as we've seen him have before. Maybe he gets nervous or something, but I believe the game plan is for him to go first. I believe he will go first in the earlier rounds, and I don't think he's going to pull a Leon Edwards and he's going to let himself get backed up. And again, that's not really his style. Leon, it was a bad stylistic matchup against Belal because he's a bad boxer. He has good leg kicks, and once you get the cage cut off and you can't really leg kick, everything for him relies on the boxing. And once that happens, his wrestling actually was better than his boxing, Leon Edwards. So again, I do think Belal Muhammad, in order to stop Shavkat walking him down, he's going to be landing that jab. He has a really fast jab. Shavkat, I think, has some really good body kicks and head kicks that I think he will be landing and will probably hurt Belal at some point with a head kick. I could definitely see that since Belal is the shorter opponent. I think Shavkat hits much harder than Belal's last few opponents. He definitely hits harder than a Leon Edwards. And yeah, I think Shavkat, again, landing the bigger shots. I think he's going to fight more like Vicente Luque. I think that's a very similar fight. I don't think he's going to have as much pressure as a Luque. I think Shavkat is going to be pressuring, but not 100% of the fight. I think Belal will get his pressure going and go on the back or the front foot more in the later rounds, in my opinion. And yeah, I think this is going to be a very close fight. If Belal shoots, we've never seen Shavkat's really his takedown defense. We've seen him get his back taken, but we haven't really seen his wrestling defense in the UFC that much. I think Belal could have success, but against the cage, I don't think either of these guys are going to take each other down that much, more than once, in my opinion, against the cage. I think if they shoot out in the open, I think both of them could take each other down, in my opinion. And I think both of them will get takedowns in this fight. I think the difference is that Shavkat Rakhmonov is much more dangerous on top than a Belal Muhammad. He has some of the best top pressure in the UFC. And Belal, he gave up his back so many times against Leon and other guys where it really could, one mistake could cost him the entire fight. And I think he's going to be landing elbows, Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think it's going to cut Belal Muhammad, which again could change the fight. It could stop the fight. We saw recently, I don't think it was an elbow, Colby versus Buckley. Again, Colby sucks, but still, he gets cut fight's pretty much over, changes the fight completely. But yeah, I think this is going to be a very close fight. I think Belal will be throwing a little bit more. I think once Belal feels Shavkat's power, I think Belal has a good chin, and I don't think he's going to get dropped in this fight. I think a submission is more likely for Shavkat Rakhmonov. I can't say his name. For Shavkat. I think it's either going to be a submission for Shavkat or a decision win for either guy. I personally think that Belal Muhammad is going to be drilling his submission defense. I think his team, Habib, Islam, they're going to realize how many mistakes he made against Leon. I think he's going to be prepared. Again, when Belal shoots, though, he could get guillotined. We've seen Shavkat. I believe he guillotined, if I'm not mistaken, Cowboy Oliveira. I think it was his UFC debut. When people shoot on Shavkat, they're usually not successful. Usually they get submitted. That could happen again. I don't think anyone's getting knocked out in this fight. I think Shavkat is going to win a 48-47 decision. Again, a very close decision, in my opinion. Belal Muhammad could definitely win. This is a pick'em fight, but that's just my early prediction, early breakdown. Again, I don't know when this fight's going to happen. April, May, June, whatever. Maybe it happens during Ramadan, and if he fights during Ramadan, he's going to be at a massive disadvantage. That could definitely happen. That's my early prediction. Once this fight is announced, full prediction, full breakdown, a much more in-depth breakdown. This is kind of on short notice. But yeah, that is it for me. Let me know who you think wins this fight, how you think they win this fight. But yeah, that is it. And yeah.